Welcome back to 1851's Top Franchise Legal Players series. My name is Ben Warren, and I'm so excited to be joined today by Elizabeth Sigety, partner with Fox Rothschild LLP. Liz, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Let's jump right into the questions here. First one, how did you end up specializing in franchise law, and what drew you to the field?
Well, it's because my family started being an area developer for a restaurant franchise, and this is a very long time ago, 25 plus years ago. And I was a corporate finance lawyer, and my husband came up to me and threw a franchise agreement at me on the couch saying, "Do you think I should sign this?" And I read it and I thought, no way, this is so controlling. How could you possibly sign something like this? Because I really didn't understand franchising at all. So I decided, because my family was in franchising and was opening a lot of restaurants, that I should learn something about it. And then I learned, at least at that time, there weren't many franchise lawyers around my region. That's not true anymore. So I educated myself and became a franchise lawyer.
And I take it your feelings about the franchise contract have changed over the years?
Yes, they have changed quite a bit over the years. Now I understand why.
So what is it that you love about working with franchises? What's kept you in this field for so long?
Well, I love working with emerging companies generally. So I do some work in the franchise field and actually outside the franchise field with companies that are fast growth models. And franchising, when you have a branded product and some other intellectual property as well, is a way to grow a business. And I love the imagination that the entrepreneurs bring to their business. And I think that's part of it. I think it's just the entrepreneurial attitude that so many of these companies have, and the ability to grow through franchise, through a franchise regulatory structure is exciting and fun. And the food can be very good as well, though a lot of my franchise clients are not food systems. But I do a lot in hospitality generally.
That is a nice perk of the industry.
Yeah.
So what do you see as the biggest legal hurdle facing the franchise industry in the remainder of 2021 and going into 2022?
Biggest legal hurdle. Okay. Well, I think that you've probably heard a lot about this from other lawyers, but the joint employer liability issues. I think the lack of understanding that many states and even now at the federal level have about the franchise model and how it can help the world, the economy, the small entrepreneur, the small business owner. A lot of people think of franchising as big business, whereas in reality, it's very, very much small business. And to have laws that are saying that the employee of the franchisee is actually an employee of the franchisor is very harmful. And I think that's one of the big issues that's facing the industry that's really sort of scaring people right now.
Yeah. So are there any common mistakes you see from a legal perspective that franchise brands are making? Is there one big mistake that you're constantly advising people against?
Well, I mean, one of the trickiest parts of the franchise disclosure document, I think, is the financial performance representation, the constant debate about whether to have one or whether not to have one, especially for emerging brands, when it's appropriate, when you have the proper data to back it up. It takes a lot of work to do that properly, especially as brands grow. I think another issue, maybe this also falls into your last question, is the supply chain issues and getting all their supply agreements and not glossing over that part of it, especially now with the big challenges because of the pandemic in supply chain issues, because your franchisees really rely on that. And sometimes that's one of the reasons why they become a franchisee. So really thinking ahead and getting your systems together to support as you grow, sort of proactively, to support the disclosure and the regulatory requirements. I think people fall a little behind on that a little too quickly.
Great. So final question for you here. What is one thing you think every prospective franchisee should know before joining a franchise brand?
Well, I think that they need to not be afraid to talk to the other franchisees. And I think they need to know that there's always going to be a franchisee out there who is not doing a good job and who's blaming the franchisor. So there needs to be some perspective if there's negative comments, but they need to really take the time to talk to a lot of the other franchisees in the system. And sometimes they're afraid to do that, or they only call the franchisees that the franchisor may recommend, even though that's sort of a shady, can be a bit of a risky practice, maybe I'd call it. So I think that's really something that they need to be advised to do up front. And the other thing is, I think a lot of franchisees gloss over the financial statements and the financial strength of the franchisor. I don't know why. They get very excited about a brand or the concept or, whatever the pretzel or whatever it is that they have come to love. But they really should pay attention to the financial strength of the brand.
Absolutely. That's great advice. Well, Liz, that's all that we have for you today. Thank you so much for joining us. And I can't wait to check in with you again soon.
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure.
All right.